What's up, everybody? It's your favorite general who's trying to tell you to get to your transports. Favorite nerd, and today we are looking at the Hot Toys Hoth Leia from Empire Strikes Back. Born on the same year as myself, I might add. Shout out to the real 80s babies. Of course, being a Hot Toys figure, she comes with a number of accessories, and let's go ahead and get started with that. First and foremost, she has the stand. It looks good, operates the same way as usual with the two tension prongs. We have the nice plate there at the bottom with Star Wars Princess Leia. This does have the protective plastic sheet, which I will now take off for the pristine little plaque there, and then a nice little snow effect on the grates, which is cool because the grates were used with the episode 4 stuff, so now we still have the grates. We got the little snow. Nice little classy thought there. We have a couple interesting hand options. We only have one alternate left hand, and it's a blaster supporting hand. And then we have a bunch of right hands. 3 different gloved hands, one kind of open hand, one posed hand, one trigger finger hand gloved, and then one trigger finger hand ungloved. The ungloved hands have the fingernails sculpted in, which looks good. They're all painted and detailed accordingly with the, the flecked stuff and the shading and all that stuff. It looks really good. And if you break any of the pegs while you're trying to put the hands on and off, you get 2 replacements. She comes with this blaster, which is extremely well done. Tons of sculpted detail. We got flat paints, we got gloss paints, we got this little translucent piece here with the copper paint, it looks like underneath. We have the silver here with all the sculpted detail, and then down in there as well. Extremely well done. She holds it in the flesh hand. She holds it in the gloved hand, but the finger, like naturally, at least on mine, doesn't want to kind of go into the trigger guard, so it looks like it's in like the safety position, which is fine, but when it's in the safety position, she doesn't quite hold it as well. But if you just bend it around, which is a little tricky, but you get it in there, and then she'll hold it just fine. She comes with her goggles, which are done well. We got this like turquoise color with a black wash on it. The inside of the goggles is done in a black plastic. I wish it was like a softer foam, like it was real, but it's not, like a rubber. That would have been cool. And then we had the band across, and it is, I'm guessing, a real working band so that you can cinch it down on her head. But we'll take a look at that here shortly. And then she has her That's No Cave mask with the foggy kind of face piece, which is cool. The hose is all fogged out, which looks good as well. Then we have the piece down here, which does clip in. You can have that on her jacket or what have you. And then you have this elastic band here to go around her head. And then you have a couple little details that are painted on the mask itself. Really, a sharp accessory. And then she has her little tool so she can work on the Falcon and lie and say she likes nice men. But maybe I'm a nice man. Anyway, we got the silver down here. We got this part here, which may be dry brushed, it looks like. Sculpted beautifully. And then we have like the old school telephone cord kind of feel here, which is nice. Dude, remember when they would get all crinkled up? You had to spend like, I don't know if you were like me, but you had to spend like hours like uncurling them. What a nightmare. I'm glad that kind of phase has passed. And then we have this silver box here with the red switches, the black, and then the nice silver finish. And there she is with the mask on and clipped onto her vest there. And what I would recommend doing is popping the head off and then placing the mask on from the bottom up instead of from the top down. I just had an easier time with it that way. And there she is kind of utilizing that look. I couldn't get the goggles to work like around her head. I went and searched through the images, and it seems like they always have her kind of holding it up to her eyes. So ultimately that'll work. As far as face accuracy, I feel like this is 100% dead on. This is now officially my favorite head sculpt Hot Toys in my collection. I think it is spot on the money. The shape of the eyes, the shape of the brow, the relationship of eyebrow to eye, the shape of the lips, the proportions of eyes to nose, nose to chin, it all seems dead on. Looking at the picture to your left, her face looks a bit rounder. However, in other images that I saw while looking it up, I think that's mainly because of the smile. They were always on top of her for slimming down in those movies, and I think this is after episode 4 was such a big hit, so she'd probably lost a few, but she didn't need to lose too much, you know what I mean? Anyway, I think it's great. I love the little wisps of hair hanging down between her cheekbones and ears. Beautifully, beautifully done. As far as costume accuracy, I think it's close. I don't think it's perfect, but I think it's close. And I think this is where the soft goods ends up becoming more of a hindrance in a lot of ways. I'll tell you where, but let me talk about the good first. I think the coat is spot on. All the decor on the coat is spot on. You can't see it in this picture, but the decor on the sleeve is spot on. The sculpt of the plastic in the gloves is spot on. And the shape of the suit is spot on. The problem is, I think hers was a lot dirtier in the movie, for one, and it also wasn't as puffy. There was a lot more wrinkles and such. If you look especially in her lower legs where the pants meet the boots, that fabric isn't as stiff. Whereas on the Hot Toys, it looks a lot more like a snowsuit, like my kids last week. A lot more Stay Puffy. And that's my one big criticism here. Let's talk about the detailings. The face is painted magnificently. The eyes, the different variations in skin tone, from the darker skin around where the hair is and in the shadows of the chin, to the lighter skin around the forehead, to the redder skin around the cheekbones. It is done beautifully. We got a little bit of paint here on this badge, some silver, blues, oranges, and reds, and then down here on the sleeve, nice gray, and then the silver, and then the gloves are all painted. It looks like, anyway, with like a glossy white. And then they're washed as well, it seems. And then we have the boots, or the shoes rather, that are, it seems like the shoes are actually sewn into this, which is cool. But you just pretty much have this bottom part, which is painted. The rest is pretty much fabric. The stitching is done really well in the over vest and in the suit itself. And the top part of the body works really well. A lot of the stitching here that kind of brings in these natural wrinkles and folds ends up giving it a much more lifelike look, which works a lot better in the upper body. The collar is maybe a little, I guess you can, maybe it's wired. There might be a wire up there. So I'm going to withdraw that criticism. And then all of the like padding pieces. So like this piece here is done separately. This piece is done separately. The same on the opposite sides, and then the same on the thighs. And all that stuff looks good. The problem for me, once again, the back of the suit looks great also. And the collar, how it's like folded, it's like purpose, like it's like sewn down, so you don't have to worry about it constantly coming up on you, which is a lot of times when figures have soft goods capes or vests or whatever. We see it a lot on Black Series. It ends up being an issue around the collar part, and they circumvented that, which is awesome. For the rest of it, is where the kind of more issues take place. Let me say, I love the sleeves and how the sleeves are a little bit longer and they push up to have the natural wrinkles. Looks great. The pants is where the bigger issue is. This is I'm not sure if it's padding underneath these pants or if it's just the material itself, but it's this area here that just looks silly. But the stitching is amazing. A lot of times, you know, I've criticized Hot Toys for having stitching that looks disproportionate to the size of the figure. Like it looks like super big thread, you know, like you had to get a needle that was like the size of this thing in order to sew it in if everything was in scale. This is magnificent, just perfectly done. I just wish they were a little bit baggier, or that this was more of a satin, maybe. It was like a little thinner, that it would sit more naturally, have a little bit more weight to it, excuse me, and have a lot more wrinkles and folds, maybe a little bit more baggy. So that's my big complaint. The boots look great, but they're very clean. I'd have to look at the movie in greater detail to see if that's accurate, but for those movies, nothing was clean, I feel like. But they are done well. You have this one piece of like faux leather, and then the other piece underneath, and then the straps on top all sewn independently. And it all looks good, and the stitching looks great. So I don't have any issues in regard to that whatsoever. My main issues are just like this area and this area on both sides. Articulation-wise, it works surprisingly well, given the puffiness of the suit and everything. It's a double ball peg from the head into the neck, which I think is much better than what they do when they had the whole neck as one piece and they hide it under here. Now, you do get that joint seam right there, but I think it's definitely worth the cost of doing business for this range, because you also have another double ball peg, it seems, from the neck into the chest. So you get great range down, great range up, a little bit of attitude, side to side, confused dog look, like it moves perfectly. No complaints, which is a step up, because usually they just have the head and neck as one piece, and it ends up really cutting the articulation short, especially in the part of the figure that's probably the most well done on any Hot Toys and the most expressive. Bravo. We have a double ball peg, it seems, from the chest into the abdomen. So you get the figure bent over to there using that one, then an additional single at the waist, so you can get the figure bent over to there, bent back to there, which is fine. over to the sides, swivels, no issues. We have a ball peg going into the chest from the shoulder, coming out to a disc hinge. It seams, getting the arm up 90 degrees. Soft goods are not an issue. We got a butterfly joint, so you can get the shoulder, well, on the ball peg, so you get the shoulder a bit more forward and back. Beautifully done, no issues. In the swivel, even with the suit, you can get up to just about 90 degrees. Splendid. We have a proper bicep swivel. At least it feels that way, yes. And then a double hinged elbow, which is nice. They're more willing to do that when they can hide the joint, works well. And then we have, as you saw, the ball hinge wrist that swivels at both sides so you can get in, out, up, down, depending on how you have it swiveled. Perfect. The legs, that's where we have a little bit of problem. T-jointed ball joints for hips. They get you out to there because of the suit, and it's mainly the crotch piece. It holds tension right about there. Forward, you get to about there. Thigh swivel, it's there. The suit is a little restrictive. Double jointed knee, that still gets you 90 degrees, so that's nice. And then we have a double ball peg going from the shin calf area down into the ankle, which gets you an ankle tilt down, up, rocker. So that all works splendidly. So the main issue articulation-wise is in the hips, but I don't think it's going to be an issue for you whatsoever. I've been keeping you guys up to date on my dioramas, so instead of a skit today, I wanted to show you this. This is my Jedha diorama from Rogue One. It is done. Probably the best one I've done, and the problem is you got to top this now. I'm working on the next one. I'll show you the progress of that, but you know, it's hard to top this one. This one came out really well. So I'm almost done this one. This is my Scarif one. And I just put some of this silicone down here for the waves. I need to wait for that to dry, and then I'll dry brush some of the caps white, and then it'll be done, and then I can bring in Krennic and the Death Troopers. But good, my wife helped me with both of these. Like she did the foliage and stuff. She painted the sides, which looked out really nice. You got the little horizon there. So yeah, it really brings the shelf to life. Final thoughts wise, let's talk about the negatives and get them out of the way. They're very limited, but we do have to talk about them, and they are all in this section that goes across the board. It goes for the soft goods, which are both limiting in the sense of articulation and in terms of accuracy, where I feel like they cut the figure short in the sense of giving away the suspension of disbelief of material, scale, and fabric. Like I said, it seems a little too much like my kid's snowsuit and not enough like the Star Wars suit that she was wearing. To follow that on, it also seems like they could be a bit dirtier, and then if you follow that train of thought, so should the boots be dirtier. Probably could have found a better way to say that, but I think you get the point. Overall, though, I think it's wonderfully done. The articulation, with the exception of the outward movement and forward movement of the hips, is perfect. The accessories all make sense. The soft goods work at the very least in the 80th percentile, if not the 90th. The sculpt is amazing. The paint is on the money, and the presence is undeniably Carrie Fisher as Princess Leia on Hoth. A strong, strong, strong recommend from me. Really well done. Makes me want them to do episode 4 Leia over, because this head sculpt is way better than the episode 4 one. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.